Men in Black International is the fourth film in the MIB series and is generally considered by most to be the worst. This doesn't mean the VFX were bad though, because just as failed VFX can make a decent screenplay go unnoticed, a failed screenplay can do the same for what in this case are actually really good VFX. Double Negative, Rodeo Effects, Sony Pictures Imageworks, Method Studios and Territory Studios all took part in a global effort to create around 2,250 VFX shots that make us believe that aliens really could be among us. Vungus the Ugly is one of the main hero characters, and DNeg as lead VFX house was in charge of his creation. The most complicated part was transferring the actor playing Vungus's facial performance onto an alien face with bulging eyes and a huge mouth that is nothing like the actor's. The facial rig for Vungus started with around 300 unique blend shapes, but they ended up with around 1,000. On top of the facial animation rig, they had a simulation rig that was run post-animation. The facial system was a combination of Maya nCloth, Ziva Dynamics, and DNeg custom tools, while things like skin sliding, jiggle, and sticky lips were all added in the simulation pass. For the animation of Vungus's body, everything was keyframes, although they started with a rough body track of the actor's performance. For the facial animation, there were some parts of the actor's performance that the team couldn't recreate, micro-expressions that, due to Vungus's design, just didn't work on his face. Even so, the animators still managed to transfer the actor's personality onto Vungus's face, even though there wasn't really any physical resemblance. The brief DNeg had for the twins was that in their true form they needed to be some sort of pure energy, to have the ability to transform matter by touch, and when they were shot they had to decompose and recompose. They were also given some photographic references, images of galaxies, melted glass and abstract sculptures. Early on they decided to use particle simulations instead of fluid simulations, because with particle simulations you can control the position of each particle, then you can render millions of particles, obtaining a fluid look by adding density. To achieve the decomposing and recomposing effect when the twins were shot, they started by taking the twins' plate and doing a rotor motion on them. They then surrounded them with a noise field through which they pushed their particles. They had to create custom fields and divergence fields so that they could define where the shot was coming from, how fast and how much spread it would cause, and how quickly it would return, creating a kind of custom solver in Houdini that used a collision field, divergence fields, and velocities to drive the simulation. They created and rendered a variety of different layers, and the final look was achieved when they put them all together in compositing. Sony Pictures Imageworks also had to create various alien creatures, and among them was the chess piece character Pawnee. Even though the team had an idea for the design and personality of Pawnee pretty clear, it wasn't until Kumail Nanjiani was cast for the voice role that things began to take shape. Kumail was on set but off camera for his interactions with the cast, his performance captured by a head-mounted camera rig. This footage was used as a reference for Pawnee's facial expressions. True to scale 3D models of Pawnee were 3D printed to be used on set for framing, lighting reference, and eye lines. The most complicated part was balancing Pawnee's physical attributions and movements with his personality and Kumail's performance. He had to be cute but gross, serious and comical, inoffensive and yet dangerous, and intelligent but silly. The idea behind the Hive is that it's a creature that has taken on different attributes from all the alien species it has absorbed throughout the universe. Its main characteristics are tentacles, which, as it turns out, are one of the hardest things to animate. The complexity of the animation depends on the function of each tentacle. The Hive basically had 3 types of tentacles. Support tentacles. These held the Hive's body up and allowed it to move, and these were animated by using snakes as a reference. The second type of tentacle was defensive. These were more like horns or spikes with very little movement, and the third type were dexterous tentacles. Octopus tentacles were used as a reference for these, and they were the hardest to animate, mainly because of the number of movements they were capable of executing. One of the hardest things to balance was the moment when Liam Neeson transforms into the Hive. This transformation had to look gruesome and realistic, but Men in Black isn't a horror film, so no blood or gore could be used. The effects team and animation team had to work closely together to achieve a transformation that was mildly grotesque without stepping over the line where it could have become comically gruesome. Method Studios assembled 3 separate teams for their work on the film. The first team created, built and animated the blue-feathered thug called Luca. They had to extract and match the actor's facial performance, adding the expressions and emotions of his facial performance onto the CG alien's face. They also had to remap the actor's clothing onto a larger CG body. For this, they did a 2D projection, only doing a full CG replacement for his clothing when absolutely necessary. They were also responsible for the creation of the black hole gun and the massive CG canyon caused by firing it. For this shot, they also had to add a CG arm to Agent M, because in principal photography, they were unaware of how big the CG weapon would be, so her arm had to be moved to accommodate the weapon. This wasn't the only CG arm they had to create. Reese's third arm was also part of their work. The second team mainly focused on CG character work, creating all the aliens riding the Hyperloop transport system, as well as the system itself. They also worked on the beard-like alien creature Bassam. They also got to recreate Frank, Men in Black's trademark talking pug. Did you enjoy this video? Give us a thumbs up if you did, and if you enjoyed the music in this video, you can find the links in the video description. And as always, please be sure to let us know in the comment section which movie VFX you'd like to see behind next.